Alright, so as we continue on with the pen tool in Photoshop, we're going to move on now from our first pen tool line exercise and move right along into the trace puzzle piece exercise. It's the second image that you've downloaded from that pen tool page on Canvas. Now if you look at the puzzle piece, you might be thinking this is a lot more intense than our previous pen tool line exercise. Going from making just one curve to making a really complex shape can feel daunting. But I want you guys to wrestle with this. Think of this puzzle piece as the digital self-portrait assignment where you guys are wrestling with the tools so that way we can learn them better. I had mentioned that the pen tool can be frustrating. This is the time where those frustrations will kind of be ironed out. Now, as we look at the puzzle piece, there are several things that we're going to learn as we go. Namely, how we can use the pen tool to add and subtract vertices that we've already made, and then how we use a brand new tool to go back and change our lines after we've made them. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So as you look at the puzzle piece, the hardest part sometimes can be deciding where to start your line. Now, I always like to start on a corner. Why? Because corners don't require curves, so they're as easy to start as a click. Now we're still working with shapes up here in the option bar. If it's set to paths, Control Z and then make this say shape. I'm working with no fill and a black stroke at about 10 pixels. Now after we make our first point, where do we go next? I want you guys to think of this in terms of the least amount of clicks possible. Almost like a challenge. How many clicks would it take to complete the entire puzzle piece? 6? 5? 17? What I don't want you guys to do, and I want you to resist the urge to sit there and just start to do this. This is terrible. You can see how that line, that is not curvy, right? That completely ruins the intentions of the pen tool. So our goal is to do this in as few clicks as possible. So after our first click then, where do we go? Well, here, down here, over here. This is where we have to learn how to navigate and control our pen tool handles. Now, because I've done this before, I'm going to choose this area right here. I'm going to click and drag to there. Now look at this handle and look at the curve that it's resting on. In math, you guys may remember the principle of tangent lines, where these lines are tangent to a curve. I know, we're majoring in art, but bear with me. If these lines, these handles, are tangent to the curve, meaning they're laying flat on top of them, kind of like if you had a ball and you put a book on top of the ball, it's laying perpendicular to the radius of the curve. Similarly, if we go into our pen tool line, if we think of these handles as a steering mechanism, if we always try to make these tangent to the curve, we'll be able to control our line a whole lot easier than if we were just aimlessly dragging these around. Watch me. I've set this curve up pretty well. Now if I come over here, overshot a little bit. Come over here. There it is. Again, tangent to the curve. I'll come up here. Tangent to the curve. Click. Now I want you guys, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. I want you guys to see how many you guys can do. At least do 5. Or at most do 5. Try to get less if you can. And then meet me at this corner. Okay. Now, for some of you, you're frustrated that your line isn't perfect. Don't be frustrated. I'm going to teach you guys a brand new tool after we're done tracing this that's going to help us refine all of our lines. Until then, let's just try to get around the entirety of the puzzle piece. Now, we have here a corner. If you remember from our previous exercise, we had to reset the energy of our curve at a given point. So we have a point here. We have to reset the energy of this line. To do that, if you guys remember, you hold Alt or Option on the keyboard and you simply click the last point. Now I can continue. Tangent, 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 and then Alt or Option click, resetting that curve. Now, as we go about this, it's important to note that just like using the lasso tools, we have to make sure that we're drawing one continuous line with the pen tool. Meaning, if you look over in your layer panel, we should only see shape 1. I'm going to go ahead and finish this. It won't be perfect. Notice here my last point here was not perfect. That's okay. We'll fix all that. Just get through the puzzle piece and then come on back. I want to show you some of the multifaceted things that we can do with the pen tool after we've made a shape. Now, with my pen tool still selected, I want to show you guys how we can add and subtract different points along our path. So notice when I hover my pen tool over an existing point or a vertice, a little minus appears. If I click, it completely erases and explodes the energy of those given points. So that's how we subtract points. If I want to add a given point, and maybe I would need to if I tried to do it in as few clicks as possible, but I need an extra point or two, if I hover over the line at any given point, you can see how the pen tool turns into a plus. So then if I click and drag, you can see now I create various points. I'll undo those. So we can add and subtract points from the pen tool itself. And if we click and hold or right click the pen tool in our toolbar, we see that these bottom 3 options here we just learned. How to convert a point, that's holding Alt or Option on our keyboard, and how to add or delete an anchor point or a vertice by just hovering over the point or the line itself. All right, so now how do we start to manipulate the line after we've made it? Go right beneath your type tool and you guys should see a black arrow. If you click on that or right click it, you should see then 2 options, a path selection tool and a direct selection tool. Now, because we haven't worked with paths yet, and again, that's up there in our option bar for the pen tool, we're going to be working with the white direct selection tool. Click on that for me. Think of this as kind of the magic tool that allows you to fix all of your errors with the pen tool. Now, I can just simply click anywhere on my line, and now it comes back to life. But I can come in now and select any given point and completely retool my entire shape. And not just that, but I can come in here and change the handles after the fact, making them in line with exactly how I want them to be. So you perfectionists, you can see now you don't have to worry about getting the line perfect the first time. Get it close, and then come in with the direct selection tool and refine those lines after you've made them. Take some time with the direct selection tool, it's the white arrow, and fix any area on your puzzle piece that was less than stellar. Okay, so we should have a next to perfect puzzle piece. I want to teach you guys one more thing we can do with the direct selection tool before we move on. Go ahead and for me, just select one of your points with handles. I don't care which one. Now notice that if I just wanted to change this part of the curve, I would do so with this handle, but it also changes the other side as well. So it's kind of like a seesaw. You change one, the other one changes with it. And this is nice when you have complex shapes like this, but it can be a nightmare if this side is perfect and this side is not, and you have to sacrifice one or the other. I want to show you guys how to move one side of the handle at a time. Now, if you hold Alt on the keyboard again, or Option if you're on a Mac, and then hover your direct selection tool over one side of your handle, you'll see a little plus icon. Now if you, while holding Alt or Option, click and drag one side of the handle, notice now it's changing just that side instead of both. Now be careful with this, because it does start to create points when previously it was a curve. And again, with the pen tool, we want to have it as curved as possible. When I start to adjust the handles, I try to do this as subtly as possible as to not ruin the curve. But this is a fantastic way to manipulate and fine-tune even further your line. Notice that with my pen tool still selected, shape 1 selected in my layer panel, I still have the ability to change the fill and the stroke at any given point in time. So I could remove the stroke, and now it's theoretically invisible, and add a fill if I wanted to. I could remove my background layer, and now I have a perfectly recreated puzzle piece ready to work. So just to recap, we've learned how to use the pen tool, we've learned now how to use the direct selection tool, and we've learned how to add, subtract, and reset any given point. With those things in play, we should be pretty good navigating the pen tool and direct selection tool interface. Now, it's not uncommon for smaller companies that may hire you to give you a logo that is low resolution. These local mom and pop stores, if they hired you to make them like a flyer or a website, and you ask them for a logo, they may send you this like really tiny, low resolution image. They don't know any better. They don't have designers on hand. And so they may require you, or you may require yourself, to import their logo into Photoshop and then trace it using the pen tool, kind of re-digitize it, so to speak. So to practice something like that, I want you guys now to move on to the Trace Fanta logo image. Now, I love the Fanta logo because it is nothing but curves. You may be thinking, no, I see a straight line. It's actually not. It's a subtly convex curve. So the entirety of this logo is made up of curves, which makes it completely a perfect pen tool exercise. Now, I'm going to want you guys to just trace out the Fanta text. You don't have to worry about the orange or the leaf unless you want to. But I want to show you guys how to set this up for tracing. So go ahead and get this open and then follow along. Let's go ahead and get out our pen tool. And again, no fill and a black stroke at about 10 pixels. Again, drawing with shapes, not paths. Let's go ahead and unlock our background layer over here in our layer panel. With that unlocked, I want to make this a trace layer. Now, if you guys remember tracing as kids, you know they had like the trace paper, that semi-opaque paper that you'd lay over something and then trace on top of it. It made the image that the trace paper was on kind of semi-transparent. It wasn't super bold and colorful. You just dulled it down enough so you could see the line you were tracing. Let's do something similar to our Fanta logo. Let's take layer 0 now, and let's notch down the opacity. Around 40%. Looks good to me, but whatever is comfortable for your eyes. And then let's lock layer 0. If you guys remember tracing as kids, there was nothing worse than accidentally moving the trace paper after you started. So let's lock this layer 0 to avoid that. And so now I can make a brand new layer. Layer, new layer. Hit OK. And on this brand new layer, I can begin now to trace my Fanta logo. Notice how if I were to bring back the intensity of this Fanta, that black line almost is completely lost. So changing its opacity and then locking it allows us to see what it is we're doing. Now, I'm not going to actually do this one with you. Okay, that was the goal of the puzzle piece. I want you guys to try to get through the word Fanta. Okay, every time you start a new shape, hit escape, and it will allow you then to continue tracing somewhere else. Escape. Escape. Okay, so try to finish each shape, each letter, and then we'll come back and we'll start a different exercise. Where we're headed next is using the pen tool to make isolations. So it's important for us to really have a good grasp on how to manipulate and use the pen tool, because we know If we make bad isolations, it can completely ruin our image. So work with this, get comfortable with it, and then start the next video.